Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
And this is Matt.
and this is Elvira, Mistress of the
Yes.
Dark.
Yeah. Our Halloween game
Hmm.
for 2021. I had to check what year it was
Did you have to
in my
check?
clock.
I
Yeah. I don't
I
want to say it
normally have to
wrong.
check what year the game is, but
I
and
needed help on both today.
yeah, this one. Okay, first off, for if you're joining us for the first time, we are not a review.
No.
We don't do reviews here. So if you came here hoping for a review of Elvira, sorry.
Look elsewhere.
Look elsewhere. However, the game's over 20 years old. At this point, the game's over 30 years old.
Yes.
Ouch. Because I remember seeing ads for it in magazines and being like, I want that.
This came out the year I was born. Okay. That's not true. I'm sorry.
You wish.
I know.
But all our
Anyway,
20-year-old games came out 5 years ago to us, so it's,
right.
it doesn't matter. 1991, that was 5 years ago. 1999, that was 5 years ago. Just
It's like yesterday. But I think the point you were trying to make before we
Yes.
we got off lying about our age was that everything that's been said about these games has been said.
been said. You can find out if it's a good game or a bad game. There's reviews on, good old games where you can pick this up. Or I don't know, is it on Steam? It got re-released, I'm presuming, because of her recent book.
Yes, Elvira's autobiography is out.
Yeah.
I have not read it.
I have not either.
I think I would like to though, because I'm
I was gonna say
interested.
I like Elvira. I've always liked that. I think spooky and sexy go well together. And
Yeah,
she does it in a way that's I had something for this. She is family friendly horror and family friendly sexy, and those are two things that are not normally family friendly, but she
right,
does them in a way that you don't feel bad or feel like something's being exploited or creepy.
right. It's camp. It's like
Yeah.
good. It's like
Yeah,
what
it's
makes
camp.
camp good. It is totally Elvira, and Elvira just gets to keep doing it forever because she's great.
Yeah. There will never be a time
she's
where
like she's like kind of mean too, which I
Mhm.
always really liked. And like I had no idea anything about Elvira really until I was probably like 12 or 13
Okay.
and saw Mistress of the Dark at a friend's house, and I was like, "Oh, this is funny.
Yes.
Like this is good stuff."
I was into all of those. I'm going to start this game playing in the background while we talk here. I was in all of those like goofy monster movie of the week hosts.
Yeah.
The one that really stuck out to me because I was from Chicago was Son of Svengoolie.
Yes, Svengoolie. It's good
Svengoolie is
stuff.
just so good.
Hmm.
And my biggest memory of him was they were showing Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D. And there was this super hype train advertising. I think Return of the Creature, you could only get glasses at 7-Eleven, but I seem to remember having to go to this store called Jewel Osco,
Hmm.
and get the 3D glasses. And then they're like, okay, stand 6 feet away from the TV and look straight at it. And you can't be like on the sides. And you got to be this. And all these rules for it to work. And it still didn't work. And it was just,
Yep. That's what like makes you a hardened adult though, is just like
oh, yeah.
constant disappointment
Constant
as a
disappointment.
kid. Which brings us back around to Elvira. Uh,
Yeah. Book club style format. We talk about this. Long game, short game. Every month. This is our long game for the month.
yes. Yep.
What do you think? Well, okay, let's start with the history of it. Because you wrote some notes for history, and this
Yeah.
is fascinating to me. The first thing that's fascinating is it says copyright 1990 on the game. But you have CGW, Computer Gaming World, has it as role playing game of the year in 91.
Yeah, this won role playing game of the year in 1991 against, listen to this list of games that it beat:
Mm-hmm.
Interplays Lord of the Rings.
I
Bane
might
of
give
the
it that, but go on.
Yeah, Bane of the Cosmic Forge, which I think is wizardry related,
It is.
correct?
Yep.
Origin Savage Empire, and it beat Eye of the fucking Beholder.
That's the one where I'm not a huge Eye of the Beholder fan, but bullshit.
Yeah, like
Like,
that's a
no.
better game than this,
That is
I
a
think.
better game than this.
But
Uh,
whatever.
at least in RPGs, you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's a different animal for sure. It's like a totally different style of RPG, and maybe whoever was deciding Computer Gaming World's Game of the Year liked this format better. But I think there's a lot more depth to Eye of the Beholder than there was to this.
Well, and that's where some somebody who's into like educational dichotomies and these old video games needs to sit down and properly codify gaming name type things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a taxonomy of role-playing games is
Yes.
what you're advocating
Well,
for.
taxonomy
Yeah.
of all computer games, because
Right.
this type of role playing game is not Eye of the Beholder, is not Origins Savage Empire, is not Interplays Lord of the Rings. These are all very different types of games. And it's not that I can't argue an RPG element to each of them, but there's sub classes and genres that
Right.
I think are more defined. And this is why I was about to ask you, what would you classify this game as?
I kind of call these single screen adventure games.
Mm-hmm.
It's I wouldn't lump it in with like your first person role playing game like Bard's Tale
Right.
or Might and Magic, because you're not like taking individual steps around. Every
Mm-hmm.
step is a scene, so it's more akin to like Demon Forge or Dark Lord or some of those other Demon's Forge, I think. You want to
Right.
know something real fucked up though?
Yeah.
If you look this up on Wikipedia, they call it a first person shooter. I'm fairly certain I didn't make that up. There is ain't nothing first person shooter about this thing. We both like rush off.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look it up. You keep talking.
Somewhere, maybe it's not on Wikipedia, but someone called it a first person shooter.
Oh, no, you found it. Gameplay. Elvira is a mix of first-person shooter role-playing game, point-and-click adventure game. This is why we need to get that taxonomy labeled.
Right.
Because
exactly.
if you read that on the back of the box and you got this game, you'd be pissed right now.
Yeah, you would never not be pissed again in your whole life.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought that was quite egregious.
Because I don't feel like it's a role-playing game. I don't feel like it's a first-person shooter.
No, it's definitely not a first-person shooter.
I feel like it was going to be a point-and-click adventure game.
Right, that's the closest thing, like from a wide genre standpoint.
So if nothing else in this description, I would have led it's a point-and-click adventure game with some role-playing and some first-person action combat. Right.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Okay. It's just I had to,
Yeah.
I didn't read that on the box when I got it, and I'm still mad about it. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I know. It's like fix your shit, Wikipedia. Come on. This is a Horrorsoft game, and Horrorsoft is also apparently known as AdventureSoft. I was not really familiar with either of them, but this was released by Accolade, I think.
Yes.
Is that a true statement?
That is a true statement.
Horrorsoft had a few different games. They had this, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. They had another Elvira game called The Jaws of Cerberus, and a game called Waxworks.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a 16-bit game called Personal Nightmare, which I kind of looked up and looked like it might be interesting, but not a huge list of games. But Um, Mike Woodruff, who's the guy who started it,
Mm-hmm.
he worked on Heroes of the Lance, which is the Dungeons and Dragons kind of what was that series of books that was like written by a
Dragonlance.
bunch of D&D nerds? Dragonlance,
Yeah.
right. It was kind of the Dragonlance a Dungeons and Dragons game. And he
Mhm.
also worked on, and I'd never heard of this, Masters of the Universe Super Adventure, which
I've
I looked up. Have you played it?
I haven't. I was gonna say I've never heard of that.
I'll play anything called Super Adventure. That
Right.
sounds awesome. Like, and I like me some Masters of the Universe. It's like someone's burrowing under Eternia. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but those are the titles I cherry picked from Michael Woodruff's, uh, credits. And of course, we have to talk about Elvira.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking, okay, so if you go back a second, did I lose you? Or are you just like,
I'm looking up
are
Woodruff.
you watching YouTube?
No, I want to know more about Mike Woodruff, and I'll explain why in a second. Go on with.
I was gonna say, can you back it up for a second? I was to the death screen, which, by the way, the death screens are just fantastic. So, one thing about Elvira that I learned in researching this is she was part of a performance group called the Groundlings that started in 1979, and the two characters most people know that came out of that are Pee Wee Herman and
Mhm.
Elvira. And it just dawned on me that that severed head looks a little bit like Pee Wee Herman.
I'm betting that's a coincidence, but
Yeah, but you're not unlike Paul Rubens. She was in
she was
Pee Wee's Big Adventure. She was the biker
like a
lady,
mama.
the biker mama. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of overlap in their career.
I was looking up Robert Woodhead, who is wizardry. The Bane of the Cosmic
Oh,
Forge was like, how far back in the wizardry stuff does he go? But this was where there was this. Okay, that's all. I just
gotcha.
needed to officially in my brain connect all those dots.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Elvira's had an interesting career. She was in a Fellini film. I didn't know that, called Roma. She
Yep.
was a showgirl in Diamonds Are Forever. She's done a lot of stuff beyond just being Elvira. Cassandra Peterson is the
Yes.
name.
And the first time I saw Cassandra Peterson without all the stuff, I'm like, really? That's Elvira? But yeah, it's very different people. But not. But yes. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I found it, I had no idea there was overlap between Elvira and Pee Wee Herman until this game.
There's overlap between Elvira and P.V. Herman. Yeah, the game is. How did you feel about the horror of the game?
The first time I died, I was really into it. I was like, okay, there's going to be a lot of bloody deaths in this game, and there's quite a few, and some of them are, cool. Like the graphics are cool and like
Yeah.
bloody, and I was really into that.
I feel like the graphics for the time are beautiful.
They really are. Yeah, they're really good.
I feel like the ambient sound and most of the sound is well done.
Big asterisk by most, but absolutely. Like, I liked the music. I liked the atmosphere. There was a lot of really good potential in this game.
Yeah. I think they overdid it on. So when you're fighting, and you're going to fight a lot more than you would in a normal point and click adventure game, and we're going to talk about the fighting in depth. Believe me, this isn't one where I'm saying that and going to forget it. Every time you hit the guy,
Right? They make this high pitched scream, and like at first, this is kind of like sums up my whole experience with Elvira. So the first time I got in combat with one of the guard guys, you hit him and it goes, "Arr!" and he screams in this really high pitched way. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then you fight a bunch of them. And you're like, okay, that's I guess what they do. And then you go like upstairs, and suddenly there's these like monk dudes who I think might have be like super ripped under their robe. I'm not sure. And you hit them, and they go, "Arr!" They do the same thing. I was like, oh, I thought this would be a little different.
No. Yeah. It's
And then you go down to these catacombs, and suddenly you're fighting these badass looking skeletal like dudes. And I'm like, no, don't.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it to me with the skeleton dudes. Like, they look way too cool. Sure enough, the whole
Here comes one.
game. Yeah, here he is. You're like, there's no way this guy's gonna like scream in this high pitched voice when I hit him with my sword. But yeah, he sure is. He sure is gonna do it over and over again.
Now, I don't know if DOS version once had it, or I didn't configure for it, or just Amiga has it, but there is some voice acting in that version that's not in the one we played.
Really?
So, yeah.
We both played the DOS version of this.
Yeah.
I would love to see it came out for Amiga, Atari ST, Commodore 64, which is surprising to me,
Yeah.
and DOS.
Yeah. I will probably check out the Commodore 64 version of this.
I'd love to try the Amiga version. Like I try to buy games whenever possible, and this was what they had on Good Old Games, so I bought it from there and just like played it.
No, I want to see. Some of this is I want to see what happened back in the day, but some of it is I want to see approaching this game today. What's our take on it?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to talk about as many things before I get to combat as possible. This game as a horror game, I expect games to like be hard on you. You're going to die in a horror game.
Right.
Like, that's supposed to be part of the horror, is your character's going to die in multiple ways. So I'm not begrudging it, surprise deaths or gratuitous deaths. That's what you get in a horror game, surprise deaths, and then you go back and you reload. To me, that's part of the experience. That's not my problem. But, like, you have that entrance screen where you're looking at the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the player's first interaction with the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have both said it's like a point-and-click adventure. And there's nothing on that first screen that's a puzzle.
Yeah. Right. It just kind of plops you down.
Mm-hmm. But then doesn't do anything. So it gives you that. It puts you in a screen for a puzzle game, and there's no puzzles on the first screen. So you're immediately now, I have to look for the game. It's not going to give it to me. The game is hidden somewhere in this maze.
Mm-hmm.
Go find it.
Mm-hmm.
And you start going around to find it, and whether you go into that guy's office or you try to go through the gate, you get nabbed and brought to this room. And she makes fun of you for doing the wrong thing.
Right, which is great. This whole cutscene is great, and it's also very easy to skip.
Yes. Like, I didn't know this was here till the third time I was going through.
Same here. I was like, okay, I'm like, they put me in the stable and gave me a bunch of shit. Like, what? Why?
Why am I here? And then I didn't hit space. And
right. Same thing here.
If I wasn't recording this game, I never would have seen this. I was letting the intro stuff play out. That's how I found this.
Yeah, I just happened to like not skip it by accident, and it's a shame because like this is fantastic stuff. Like, this is the game at its best.
Yeah,
where Elvira's giving you shit, and like the graphics are great.
Yeah,
the mood is really good. Like, I really like it when a game, especially a horror game, is in kind of a really well-defined small geographic area.
Yeah,
I think it adds tension, and it feels just more intimate and a little more like scary
Right.
somehow.
Because horror should be personal, and it should be, if you spread it out too far, it doesn't feel very real.
Yeah.
But here's where it makes the second mistake. She says, I'm going to put you in the courtyard. It should be like, that should be an easy place for you to get started. So the first thing you would want to do is like go around the courtyard. Really, the only thing in the courtyard is fights.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I can't avoid talking about a movie. You want to talk about fights before I talk about fights?
Well, to pick up on what you were saying, it drops you in the courtyard, but everything you need is in the castle.
Yeah.
And so I spent so much time like just missing the door to the castle, and I wound up in this like hedge maze, and like I was not ready for it, and it all would have been fixed if she just like dropped you in the castle to start. And so you find yourself out here, and which brings us to the terrible combat system.
Yeah.
And it's not just that the combat system is bad, it's that the mechanics of the game aren't great.
Yeah, like every bad decision for the combat system that could have been made has been made.
It feels okay. So the deal is like you face your enemy. You're either on the offense or defense. You can block or parry, and that corresponds to which direction he's swinging. Your enemy is swinging from. So if he's going from one way, you need to block. If he's going from the other way, you need to parry. And then when it's time for you, if you block, then you get to do offense usually, and then you get to lunge or hack. And presumably, like that makes a difference. I don't think so.
Lunging and hacking, there is supposedly some difference in how he blocks, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't think you can like figure out which is better.
No,
because he reacts to what you do.
So I'm stopping sort of on the screen right now just to kind of, we'll step through this. Okay, so you have to click the button like you were saying, block or parry.
Yeah, or you can click on the screen. You can click on the left or right side of him. So that's what you're doing here.
Yeah. So I eventually figured out if you hold it like near the middle, you've got the mouse action time. So problem one, this would be so much better if keys worked.
Yes.
There is no keyboard commands in this game.
Right. The timing of it is such that to me, and maybe this is a statement about my abilities as a gamer, but to me it felt more like a coin flip than a test of my skill and speed.
Right, because if your mouse was too far over, no matter how good you are, you're not going to get it to where it needs to be.
Right. So you're basically like, okay, am I going to block or parry? And then hope that's what he does, because it's really hard to like turn that around. I've done it, but it's like not something you can just do readily.
Right. And you don't just have to click on the side once you see the arm coming in to register that that's what you're doing. There's an exact moment when you have to click. Fun note, that window of opportunity is determined by your dexterity.
Oh.
So you have to physically be good enough and stats-wise be good enough to land what you need to do to not lose health.
Problem number 2.
Your dex goes down every time he hits you.
So does your strength.
So does your strength. So does your life. You're losing 3 stats. And as a point-and-click puzzle game, there's not an infinite amount of health restorative situation. Like in a real RPG, there would be more opportunities to get your health back. There are some, but it's not enough, and we'll explain more why after we get off combat for a bit. So you've got a physical challenge. People complained about Morrowind because if you swung your sword and it hit the guy, then it rolled to see if you hit the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you missed, you just missed. But sort of the counter rule applied too. Like, if it attacked you and it hit, he still had to roll too. In this one, they hit every time.
Right.
And your ability to hit when you click one of the other two is also determined by your dex.
Which goes down. And
your strength determines how much damage you do, which goes down. It's constantly draining.
Which means that as your strength goes down, it like bottoms out and you start doing 5 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And these combats go on so long when you're doing so little damage that even if you're like good at it, it's still prohibitive. And the combat is not fun. So it's like you care when it's not over quickly because it's frustrating.
Right, because it's not a fun part of the game on top of everything else we just said.
You know what would have helped me a lot? I mean, aside from totally redoing the system, give me some fucking loot when I'm done.
Yeah.
Give me like a health potion or something.
Yeah.
Or some ingredients.
Some bandages or something, like you survived this battle, we're going to push you back up. But maybe not all the way, depending on how you did. But allow for some margin of error. I understand it's a horror game. But this isn't scary. You know, this is just annoying.
Yeah, your biggest reward is listening to him scream. That high-pitched scream when you hit him.
And there's every door in that courtyard. Well, not every. There's like 2 doors that don't. But most doors in that courtyard have a guard in it that you have to fight.
Right.
Now, there are spells you can use that she gives you at the beginning. But those too have a finite amount.
Right. They're basically a get out of combat free card.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start this playing again.
Yeah.
So when did you stop playing the game?
I got quite far. I think I got like, so you end up trying to get all these keys, and I think I got the key out of the dungeon, and then I was about to go tackle, I guess, the hedge maze.
Okay.
And this is when I stopped playing, because I had already been more or less frustrated by it. But I was like, I'm going to go do the hedge maze. So I'm going to go down to the kitchen, and there's this mechanic where you mix up some potions.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to go do that so I could buff myself and like deal with the shit show that is the maze. And like, I couldn't tell what anything was. It was like opaque what it was, and like then so I was like, oh, maybe I need to drink the potion that lets you know what plants are, because it's like hay and honey or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I had used both the hays.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so now what I'm gonna have to do is wander around this game, hunting for pixels, and like try to dig up the right ingredients to make potions to help myself. And I got so annoyed because it wouldn't just tell me what they were called, that I had to go like look them up.
Mm-hmm.
That I just quit. I was like, I'm not going to do it anymore.
So my quit moment was I had figured out what I was going to do about combat. Because my quit moment was a long stretch of things. I figured out what I was going to do about combat in this courtyard. I'm like, okay, before I go anywhere else, because this is where I'm supposed to start, I'm going to clean out all the combats. I'm going to fight one. I'm going to save right afterwards. And if it doesn't go my way, I'm going to save scum this, and I'm going to reload, and I'm going to just make sure there's no guys left in the courtyard. And I did. I cleaned them all out and looked in each of the rooms and like, okay, there's a werewolf in here that I'm going to have to get a silver arrow for. There's a forge in here. I don't know what to do with that yet. There's a well I can swim around and die in. That must come into place later. Went up and down some towers and didn't find much. Went into the catacombs but didn't go into the main castle.
Mm-hmm.
and then went out towards the hedge maze.
Mm-hmm.
Found a guy who killed me out there. No big deal. Around the side of the hedge maze, there's a gardening hut, and it's got a sledgehammer in it.
Yep.
And I went, sledgehammer, I know where there's a forge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take this sledgehammer back to the forge.
Mm-hmm.
The inventory system, if it's too heavy, starts permanently lowering your strength.
Yes. Inexcusable, which again fucks you in the terrible combat system.
And this is a puzzle adventure where you're gathering stuff to use in other things. It's punishing you for doing the game.
Right.
That has nothing to do with horror. That's not on theme. That's not on brand. And it doesn't... There wasn't a moment where it told me, like, you're overloaded. Maybe you should drop some shit. I just looked over and suddenly my strength was 2. And then I fell asleep on the job and she shows up and gets mad at you and fires you and the game's over.
Yep.
So I put all that back and then went back into the courtyard to be like, okay, there's nothing out there. There must be some other place to go in here. Every combat was back.
Mm-hmm.
So you have combats that cause a permanent drain on your stuff. If you win all of them and then leave the area and come back, they're restored.
Yep, you have to do it all again, and it's quite repetitive.
And you're going to need to go other places and bring stuff back.
Right. You don't know what you need, and there's actually a lot of stuff. At first I was like, oh, there's not much stuff in this game. But there is a lot of stuff in this game.
You just got to find it. Yeah, it's hidden around.
Yeah, and like regarding the item inventory problem, which definitely I would classify as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you put that stuff back where you got it, it shows up on the screen. But it's not like Shadowgate where you can just like leave anything anywhere and it'll still be on the screen. You have to click on the room button and find it. So you end up having to devise this strategy for remembering where you left shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't just see it. You have to like deliberately check.
Yeah, you have to go to that room and then click the inventory button on the side that says room, and then you'll see what's on the ground.
It's just really frustrating. Like I don't see any benefit to it. Yeah,
like,
so you're like, okay.
Even if the room thing had like a little asterisk that appeared when something was in the room.
Right.
And then, this is fun. Like those maggots that I'm picking up.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't just in the room until you click on them. So if you got the room icon up, like, did you see how Siege just appeared down there?
Right.
That's because I clicked on something in the picture. So
you
having
have to click on it. Yep.
Right. Having the room inventory up, even if it's something you drag off there, doesn't appear in there until you click on it, and then it appears in there, and then... Yeah. So...
And a lot of the game is just fucking around with the interface, like the key you just got out of that seed box.
Yeah.
Like you have to click into the seed box, look in it, move the thing, get the key. And there's other puzzles where you have to like put your pack on the ground and then put something in the pack from the inventory screen. Like that's not really a good puzzle because it's not like give me a pair of gloves that I use to pick up the hot coal to put in the pack.
Mm-hmm.
And like if I pick it up without gloves, it kills me. If I put it directly in my inventory, it kills me. That's fine. But don't make me put my pack on the floor, click on the room, click on the thing, put it in the pack, put it back in my inventory. Like it's annoying. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a puzzle.
You spend like too much time fighting with the inventory.
Yeah.
And just the bad interface in general.
Mm-hmm. Which is a shame because like that maggot screen, that was fantastic stuff. Like I love those up close art scenes and there's like stuff that you get out of them. It's really good. Like the mood and everything has so much potential.
I was thinking about this the entire time I was playing. How did you like learning your way around the map?
Um, I liked it. Um,
Really?
yeah, I think the only thing I would say is that by not starting you in the castle, they really wasted a lot of your time. That I didn't like, but it does the thing where you feel like there's some discovery that happens.
That's not what I mean. I mean,
Oh,
when you step forward and turn right,
hmm
how often did you get lost?
oh,
How often did you suddenly like, where am I?
quite often, but I
Okay.
that usually happens with me in these
Okay.
games, so I thought that was just me.
Well, it was because it was happening to me in a couple places. And that is particularly why I hate slideshow games, which is what I call
hmm
these, where you're pictured. But Mist was another one. Like, I just can't
Right,
get into it. It's why I liked Seventh Guest more than Mist. You always slid into the next room. The camera went where you were going.
right.
And I was thinking about that with how you talked about, Bard's Tale versus the Bard's Tale collection, and
hmm
how just the simple act of it rotates the camera instead of that 90-degree pop on you.
hmm
I'm like, this has to be giving him fits because,
Yeah, yeah. It the turnaround mechanic is a little confusing sometimes. Like the direction you approach things is confusing. I did spend a lot of time just kind of wandering around.
left and
Uh,
right as well. Like, so you go through the front gate and there's doors on each side of you.
mhm.
And if you hit the left and right, you don't just turn, you go into that room.
Right, and sometimes you do just turn.
And sometimes you do just turn. It's not consistent. The controls and the actions that come from them are not consistent, and not in a way where, ooh, that's fun. That was interesting how they turned my expectations on that. No, this is just bad.
Yeah. Another thing too, I mention it because you're in a screen that I think is uh, exemplifies what I'm about to talk about. The pacing of this game is really strange. Like part of this game is gathering like magic components, spell
Mm-hmm.
components, and like when I think that that's going to happen in a game, what I think about is I'm going to wander around and I'm going to occasionally encounter reagents that I'm going to collect and then I'm going to make a potion out of. But in this game, they're all like in that garden. Like not like 85% of them are
Mm-hmm.
just like all together in one location. It's the same with the weapons. Like usually you think I'm going to get this steady progression of weapons.
Right.
But no, they're all in one room in the castle. It's so strange. Like I was mystified by that. Like if you don't go straight to those weapons, you're
Oh,
at a
this is great.
serious disadvantage. Yeah, I loved this.
Yeah, you're at a serious disadvantage if you don't know that weapon room's there.
Yeah,
Obviously, in this playthrough, I didn't know that weapon through.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was such an odd choice, and it contributed to my frustration with the crafting
Mm-hmm.
because you it's not like there's no real context clues about what you got. It's not like you get the mandrake from the graveyard and you just like remember that it's mandrake. It's like, oh, here's all this shit. And like I hope you remember what it is.
Yeah.
And then it gives you bullshit descriptions like a decorative flower. Oh, just tell me what it is. Is it
Mm-hmm.
fucking poppies? Just like tell me.
Right.
I don't want to mix a potion so you'll tell me or whatever the hell. Like I don't want to do it. And fuck this guy. Also, by the way, I hate this little turd. Okay. Sorry, I got angry
It's
there. Go
okay. It's
ahead.
okay. I
You
understand.
can talk now. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not sure I have much else to say. I'm hesitant to say it's a bad game for some reason. But when I look at, I think because the parts of the game that I think are supposed to be the game, the puzzles themselves, I don't think those are awful. I
Mm-hmm.
think, like you said, the descriptions of things that are incomplete until you do the role play element, the typical RPG element of learning the what the stuff is,
Mm-hmm.
or the combat where they're trying to add some combat to their RPG. The combat could have been done as a puzzle element and just leaned in on that one thing. Skeletons require a mace fighting. The guards
Sure.
require you to have a sword and shield. Something else requires a dagger. And there's a couple places where that happens, where you need a crossbow or you need the bow to like shoot things down.
Yeah.
If the whole game had been that, like use this tool to solve this combat, and just tried to do that puzzle thing well and stopped trying to be an RPG on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been it would have succeeded. We also
Yeah.
would have had to ditch the inventory bullshit. Like if you want to say you can only carry 10 items at a time, or you can only carry 30 pounds or something, I'm with you on that. That's fine. You can have a limit.
Tell me the weight of the things, though. Like, there's no weight on
I don't
anything. You
I
just
don't know
have
what the
no
weight is.
idea.
You just suddenly start losing strength and you haven't been told. You haven't.
Yep. Another thing too about the inventory system that really sucks, if you're carrying multiple weapons, it doesn't really, you never see it swing. It's not highlighted in any way. So
Yeah.
like really ultimately what you do is just pick one weapon, throw all the other ones away,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and one shield probably.
Right.
And like it's little things like that that is just like, am I doing it? Like, do I have my
Right.
sword equipped or not?
Yeah, I wasn't sure several times. Like I'm like, I don't know if I have my thing equipped. And because your strength drop changes the amount of damage something does, sometimes I'm like, I might have switched weapons and my strength dropped, or I might still have the same weapon, or I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a puzzle game, it doesn't give enough information. For an RPG game, it punishes you for doing the RPG things. And, for a first person shooter, there's not a lot of shooting.
Right. There's a little crossbow action here and
A little
there, but
crossbow action here and
yeah.
there. Uh,
Another thing too, like I talked about how the enclosed environment where you're just like in this castle in the grounds is cool,
mhm,
but for being so like, I mean, it's not small, but intimate.
mhm,
There's so much repetitive shit. Like the whole upstairs of the castle is bedroom after bedroom with like
mhm.
a different color scheme. Every one of them has a dude in the door and a crossbow bolt in some cabinet, and like, and it's the same thing in the dungeon. Every room is the same. Most of them have a skeleton guy in them. It just felt like cheap, and the rooms are all the same, only they have different bugs in them.
I'm, whew, I'm going to say something that I never thought I'd say.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
You're doing 5 damage. Look, you're doing 5 damage. This combat will take you 20 minutes.
Yeah, I do like that the slash is showing them once you do enough damage.
Yeah, that's
And you got to like try and click fast enough that the UI doesn't change to the other thing.
right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. That's fair. I think Alone in the Dark 2 had a better map. Like, I think
Yeah.
Alone in the Dark 2 handled the puzzle solving and all that
Mm-hmm.
better. And, we weren't huge fans of that.
No, we weren't.
But thinking about it, the house was tight. It didn't have a lot of extra bedrooms. It had what it needed.
Right.
This courtyard didn't need a guard in every door.
No.
Especially like you're guarding an empty tower. You're like, right? Like,
Right. But like we're dogging on this hard. But again, like there's stuff in here that's really good.
right. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm loath to say it's a bad game, but the parts that are bad are so bad that I quit playing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like, okay, it's 1990. I am young. I'm in high school. I am a sophomore at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I get this game. I've read Dragon Magazine, seen all the ads, because that's where I first saw this, was Dragon Magazine ads.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have liked it any more then. I do think I would have finished it. I think, like, I can see me playing it, getting angry at it, coming back in several months. It's sort of an auto duel situation where it's the only game I had.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if Elvira's going to beat me, the greatest game player of my generation.
True. Second greatest.
Second greatest, yeah. There's got to be somebody out there better than me. We'll find him someday.
I mean, hello?
Oh, you know him?
All right, we're done.
All right. No, but like, I could see that sort of drive for someone if you've got nothing else. But I don't know the size of your game libraries on Steam, but I know mine.
Not small.
Not small. This isn't gonna see me come back to it.
Yeah.
Except maybe on the C64. I got to see how that got handled on here.
Yeah, I'm curious what that looks like.
Because there's no mouse.
Right.
And I'm betting combat was better.
You might be right. We'll
Because
never know.
you just
I'm
left and right with the joystick. Right?
Yeah.
Or keyboard.
You should try it and tell me so I don't have to do it.
Oh, I will. But I can't stress enough how much mouse controls being your option just destroyed combat. It's I'm not exaggerating when every decision for combat was wrong.
Yeah.
And any one of them being changed would have made such an improvement that it might have been forgivable, but with every single decision being wrong. Going to the separate screen for the pull-up. Like, you could have put him on the background, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I think maybe I would say if what you've seen appeals to you, like, graphically and tone from a tone standpoint, I would say try it. Like, maybe you won't hate the combat. Maybe we're just shitty at it. I don't think that's true, but, you know, it's
I looked up
worth
some other
trying.
discussions on this game, and the combat is specifically said, like, when you first start playing... Oh, this was the other thing I was going to say about combat, because it was such a big part of this. The puzzles end up being nothing compared to the combat because they keep throwing more guys at you. When you first start playing, it feels like it's just luck. And then you start seeing little things you can do where it's not luck, you need to do something. And I did eventually get better.
Yeah.
But unlike other games, I can't tell you why I got better.
Right.
Like, I can't say I did this strategy. I did this thing. I just got a little more sense of when to click left and right, but I didn't change my thinking. I didn't learn anything. I didn't grow. I just got a little better at the timing, and that's not rewarding.
Yeah. One more thing that drove me nuts. I was just watching your combat here. Like, I was trying to look at the sword above the dude's shoulder to try to determine if I should go left or right. But no matter what, he always swings it over his like right shoulder. It's just like not great. It's very frustrating.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a very brief moment where you suddenly know which way he's going and you have to click. But if you click at that moment, you're going to get hit. You have to see the moment and then click. And it's this sort of, your brain's just a step off. And until you learn where that step is, you're going to see that screen a lot. And even once you do, they're going to just keep sending new and harder enemies at you because your skill's going up, but your strength's going down, your dex is going down, your health is going down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Peak and Pit?
Peak and Pit. Sure. Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, yeah.
My pinnacle was, I gotta say, like, the graphics. I thought the graphics were really, well done. I thought there were some great moments in the manual where
Yeah.
it really nailed the sense of humor and the tone of an Elvira horror story. Pit is walking back in and seeing all the combats I meticulously eliminated back.
Right.
Like, I outsmarted the game, and rather than reward me for that, it took it all away because reasons.
Yep.
How about you?
I think my peak was that Elvira cutscene right in the beginning because I had missed it so many times, and like
Yeah.
it helped contextualize the game better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really good cutscene, and it's like kind of funny, and I really like Elvira.
Yeah.
Either that or finding the room with all the weapons in it.
Yeah.
Those two were like high points because when I found that room, I was like, okay, this is
Right.
going to be like different now. I'm going to like not have such a hard time with this combat. It's going to be way better.
Right.
And that was not the case. And I think the pit was when I quit, when it was just like, okay, I've done all this work. I've gotten so far. Now you're going to make it hard for me to just like mix the potions.
Right.
Like you're going to have a bad crafting system on top of this, which I was hoping to use to get around the bad combat system.
Yeah, I guess the story, the graphics, the puzzles themselves are all well done. The interface, the mechanical interaction with the game is in your way the entire time.
Yeah.
So if you can get over the interface, there's something there. But if you can't, like myself, you're going to go play Auto Duel.
Now, don't do anything rash.
I'd play this again before I play Auto Duel. I feel like there's more to there's some game hidden between all the bad spots.
I think I would choose Auto Duel because I want to go back and play it so I can feel better about how many people were mad at us about it. Because I've done that before. I like, oh man, we were so hard on this game. I'm going to go back and play it. And like, maybe we were the assholes. And sometimes we were. I think with Wolfenstein, we were too hard on it. But I've gone back to games that I don't want to dredge up and been like, no, we were right. Like this is still not fun for me, even after being told I'm a moron.
Oh, like the original Castle Wolfenstein. Have we played Wolfenstein 3D yet? I don't even remember.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did.
It's like, were we hard on 3D?
No.
Okay.
No. That was formative for me. We can't be hard on a formative game, which is why we don't do reviews.
Which is why we don't do reviews. Yeah, I guess, I mean, we kind of picked on it a little, but
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't think we were unfair for that one. Maybe I'll play it again and be like, ooh. That means I got to watch this again, though.
Yeah. Don't do that.
I try not to do that. Yeah, just so you know, I don't ever go back and just watch us.
You don't? Like sometimes I do, like if I know I said something stupid. Sometimes I'll go back and just like suffer through watching it. I don't know why I do that, but
there have been a couple times when I'm working on my own, like when I'm working on a game I'm making for myself, I'll go look at a similar game to see what I said about it. So I can be like, did it, what stood out to me? But
yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, it's sort of more like note taking than anything else. But I do appreciate everybody who does watch us, even though, like, I'm glad you guys do.
Yeah.
Hi
Everyone.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about Elvira?
No. Elvira was based on a Valley Girl character that Cassandra Peterson came up with in the Groundlings group. That's my last bit of trivia.
Okay.
And I'm done.
And you're done. Have you played this yet?
What? I thought we were playing Way of the Fist.
Oh, we are. Sorry.
What are you doing? Oh my god. We had a whole discussion. Should we play International Karate or Way of the Fist? Can you change it real quick?
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
played this yet?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
No, you haven't? Okay.
No. But at least I knew what I was supposed to be not playing.
That's very good. That was my test. You
Yep.
passed.
You're way so far ahead of me, Chris. You're playing
4D chess, man.
I'm just trying to keep up.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a game called Quantum Chess?
No.
So you can like make a move, or you can like cause a piece to be in two places at once.
Interesting.
And so as you play, you want to sort of collapse the other person's things, but you can then, like, if you've got two pieces, you can move them independently, but you're trying to collapse and still play
Weird.
chess, but they... Anyway, 4D chess made me think of that. Yeah, if you thought the guys got to you, I can't wait.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
Cool.
Long game is what we were trying to do when we went on hiatus.
Yes.
We're going to come
Half-Life.
back and play some Half-Life.
We promised we're going to talk about it. We have to do at least one spooky game
At Halloween.
in October. And
Yeah.
so we moved things around. Elvira usurped Half-Life.
Mhm.
But we're ready.
We're ready.
We're going to talk about it. You're probably not going to listen, but that's fine.
Me? No, I don't listen to us. Remember, we just said that.
Right.
You don't even listen to me when we're having the show.
No. No. I'm just thinking about the next thing I want to say.
Yeah, that's, well, as
As one does.
it's all about me.
Yeah. It's the Matt Herrick show featuring Chris.
The Pat Herrick experience. Oh my God, I want to get a big blow up of your head. Just
Yep.
all right. Knox again this Thursday. We're still pushing our way through it.
Yep.
And
Join our Discord,
yeah.
or the Discord that someone set up for us.
Yes. Join the Discord about the Lost Sectors and also about Deathlord lately.
Yeah. About a little of everything.
A little bit of everything. You can bring whatever you want to the
Cats, your pet cat.
cats. We like
Welcome.
cats.
Always welcome there. Beef jerky that you enjoy. I want to know.
Yeah. Especially beef jerky you enjoy. Tell us more.
Right. Right. I have very little going on in my life, so anything you want to contribute, put it in the Discord. I'll probably eat it up.
Yeah. All right. Just going to say goodbye then.
Yeah. Goodbye. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.